Hello, this is Josiah Rocky here with a rock training video. I thought I would just throw this together and explain how um, group requirements work. It took me a little while to figure it out, so I figured there might be a few other people trying to figure this out as well. So there's actually, out of the box, Rock has a couple of data views that these top couple about background check is about to expire, background check is still valid. And there's actually this one here, needs background check. But those are out of the box, and then out of the box you have a serving team with a group requirement. I move those into a separate tree, but for example, your serving teams, which some of them come pre-configured, and they have this requires background check here, right? And I made the assumption that okay, I turn that on and it'll work with those data views, and when I look at my list of people, I'll be able to see things, but that's not how it works at all. Actually, this requires background check is just a group attribute value, and its purpose is to tell you when you're looking at the group what the group requirements are. That doesn't mean that that is the that those requirements will be processed against anyone. To give you an example of this, I can go to church library volunteers. You see it doesn't say yes. And here's my list of people. I can turn this on and I can say yes, it requires a background check, right? And I can click save. And it still doesn't tell me anything, which there's a job you have to run to check system requirements, but I could click on a person and it should tell me that there's background, if it was actually, that was actually enabling the background check, you'd see a little button that says they're passed and a button to rerun the background check requirements, the group requirements. So this group doesn't require that, so I'm going to shut that off. Down here, group requirements is where you actually would you turn on the actual group requirements, and I'll show you that as well because I've created a couple of those that I want to set up. So under my children's ministry team, my KZ Babies volunteers, here you can see my list, and you can see this little check mark or this little triangle warning, and this is telling me that something hasn't been completed with their application or with their background check or their group requirements. So if I click on a person, you can see, oh, we don't have a background check and they has not been completed, and I need to change that to say application has not been completed. And I could recheck this individual person to say, make sure maybe I updated the record and I just want to get that warning triangle to clear, but nope, they have not completed their background check and they have not filled out an application. So these you turn on. So I'm going to tell you how to set up all three of these things now. First, here, group requirements, you can see I have two that are already set up. That the background check is required. It's based on a data view. You can have background or group requirements that are applied only to certain roles. For example, maybe your leaders need to pass a different level of application or do training or something like that. But if you leave it blank, it'll apply to everyone in the group. So they have to complete their children's ministry application. They have to have a background check. And then we're going to add a third one that they have to complete a reference check. So first I need to create that group requirement under general settings, group requirement types. I'm going to add a new one. Before this, I built the data view that will show me the list of people who qualify. I'm assuming you will know how to create data views. In my case, we have an attribute that says that a worker will check to say that the references are complete, and so that's the data view. I built a data view that looks at that requirement, and then I built a second data view that says if they're not in the data view that says they have it completed, then they didn't pass. So we're going to name this reference check required. Shows if a volunteer has passed reference checks. Their reference checks. Positive label. Reference checks have been completed. Negative label, reference checks have not been completed. Volunteer needs to complete. All right, and now this check is going to look at this data view. I don't know what the manual thing does, other than maybe it's you personally can check the box and be done. And of course, there's SQL, which is beyond my pay grade at this point. So the meets view is this data view that I built that says references complete. The warning data view is needs the complete references. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. Now I'm going to run over back to my group, serving team, and my babies volunteers. Edit this. I'm going to go to group requirements. I'm going to add a new group requirement. It says reference check is required. I'm going to save that. I'll save this. So here we'll just look at this one volunteer. You'll see now she's got a triangle. Reference check is not completed. I can recheck. Oh, she has not filled that out. In our case, we have to backfill some data because we had a whole bunch of paper applications that were in process before we launched this system. So, but the job will run and many of these triangles will go away. So there you go. We've added a new, but I want to have them listed here that says what the requirements are that these are actually testing against. In order to do that, these I believe are inheriting from the group type. So I actually need to go and edit the group type. So I'll go into the group type. I'll go into, these are serving teams. Yep. And under group attributes, here we go, requires background check. I'll add requires reference check. And this is a single select, and it can be yes or no. Yeah, I don't really use categories. So drop down list. Actually, I'd rather have radio buttons. Default value is none. I want a drop down list, actually. All right, so we'll go ahead and save that. Oh, actually, I want to edit the description. Our reference checks required for this ministry team. All right, and the other one about it says application must complete volunteer application. The answer is, again, it's a single select. Values of yes, no. Is a completed volunteer for this service. Mystery. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and save these. We'll go back to that serving team. I'll show you how it looks. You can see they're blank, so I'm going to edit this. I'm going to say yes and yes. So requires a background check, requires a reference check, must complete a volunteer application. Those are all yes.